Bhakti Vaibhav class. So, in the last week, we just started the 23rd chapter where King Prthu will attain Vaikuntha. So, as a king, as a Grihastha, he has set a good example how to lead life following Nishkama Karma Yoga. In that sense, how to execute one's Varna and Ashrama activities dedicated to Supreme Lord as an offering to Supreme Lord. So, he had set up a good example. Now, he was thinking that there are two thoughts. One thought is that I am not a devotee, or I am not a best devotee. I have not served the Lord enough. So Lord will not take me to his side. That means Lord will not take me to spiritual world. So let me go to forest, taking a Vanaprastha order, and let me perform severe austerities. So by which I can go to Vaikuntha. So that was one thought. And the other thought is, just like I had made Gurasa Ashram famous, I will also make Vanaprastha Ashram famous by performing the topmost austerities, what the scriptures prescribing the duties of Vanaprastha will describe the topmost austerities one can perform. So by performing them, I will make Vanaprastha Ashram also famous. So with these two thoughts, Priyavrat Maharaj goes to forest, just like let me follow in the footsteps of my ancestor Dhruva and please the Lord, performing severe austerities. So having gone there, just like Dhruva also performed severe austerities, month after month increasing the severity of austerities. So Prthu also, so first month first month every 3 days he was eating fruits. Second month every 6 days he was eating dry fruits. I mean dry fruit is not dry fruit the way we are familiar with. So it is mentioned, yeah, in verse number 5. First month he was eating fruits. Second month, once in 6 days, he was eating roots. And then in the third month, he was only eating dry leaves once in 9 days. And fourth month, he was drinking water only once in 12 days. And then in the fifth month, he was only breathing. So like that, month after month, he was increasing the level severity of his austerities. And during summer, he would sit on the rock and keep 4 fires in 4 directions under the sun throughout the day. And during rainy season, he would stand in front of the rain, in the midst of the rain, and perform austerities. In the winter, he would submerge himself in the water, the river water or ocean water, whatever it is, up to the neck and perform austerities throughout the night. Because night time it will be very cold in the winter. So like that. So whatever is the maximum extent that the scriptures prescribe for a Vanaprastha, he was doing everything, the severest of all austerities he was performing. So by doing all these austerities, he purified himself, like that Bhagavatam mentions. But actually, he was already a pure soul. He was expansion of Supreme Lord, he was an avatara. But as a conditioned soul, having gone to forest, in order to establish an ideal example for Vanaprastha order, how they should perform austerities, by performing all the set of austerities, he purified his heart of all misgivings, etc., etc. And then, by which, with the purified heart, he developed joyful heart, with the control of mind, control of the senses, also employing the Ashtanga yoga processes like Yama, Niyama, Pranayama, Pratyahara, etc., etc. Externally, he was performing severe austerities. He was also performing severe Ashtanga yoga activities. But internally, within the core of his heart, he was simply serving the Supreme Lord. He was worshipping the Supreme Lord by doing Leela Smaranam. Sanat Kumaro Bhagavan Yed Aha Adhyatmikam Param Yogam Teneva Purusham Abhajet Purusharshaba. So, as taught by Sanat Kumara in the last two verses, he was continuously meditating upon the lotus feet of Lord Purusharshaba, the best among all the Purushat, like Vardaraj, like Purusharaj, something like that. What he was doing? Param Adhyatmika Yogam, the topmost Adhyatmika Yoga. In third canto, it was mentioned that the bona fide means of getting rid of samsara is Adhyatmika Yoga, which consists of Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. But among the three, Bhakti Yoga is the topmost. So he was following that Bhakti Yoga. Externally, he was doing other activities, but internally, he was simply performing Bhakti. So that is indicated. Bhagavad Dharmina Sadho Shraddhaya Yataya Sada Bhaktir Bhagavati Brahmani Ananya Vishada Vishaya Bhavet. So simply Bhagavad Dharmina Sadho Shraddhaya Yataya Sada. Always, since the time he went to forest, continuously was performing Bhagavad Dharma. What is that? Bhaktir Bhagavati. Bhakti unto the Supreme Lord Bhagavan. Ananya Vishaya Abhavat. Without giving rise to any other thoughts other than serving the Supreme Lord. There was only one desire in his heart. Let me go to Vaikuntha as quickly as possible and execute in the personal service of the Supreme Lord. Without any second thought he was executing is Bhakti. So now I was thinking that, so why I am not able to perceive the Lord in spite of performing so many austerities? Is it because I still have subtle body? My subtle body is still not purified completely. I am not able to perceive Paramatma within the core of my heart. I am not able to perceive Bhagavan. What is the reason? Dhruva attained darshan of Bhagavan in 6 months. I have already passed 6 months. Still I am not attaining darshan. So then, as he was thinking thus, by the practice of devotional service, his mind became completely pure and the Brahmajnana and Ashasiddhis came to him, saying that, my dear sir, since you are executing bhakti of the topmost order, topmost class, Bhakti Devi has sent all of us in your service. So Brahmajnana came, the knowledge about absolute truth, and also the 8 siddhis, and also many other siddhis who are servants of the Bhakti Devi. They all came to serve Prthu. So generally devotees don't accept all such siddhis and Brahmajnan, etc. etc. Because devotee constantly have only one thought. Let me continue as a servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Lord. Even Prthu Maharaj, in his prayers, he also mentioned that I just want to become the servant of the Supreme Lord. I just want to serve the Lord like Mother Lakshmi, not more than that. So here, couple of verses we discussed last time that Vidura is asking Maitreya, please speak about Prthu Maharaj, who is none other than one of the expansion of the Supreme Lord. And his activities are non-different from the activities of the Supreme Lord. So I want to hear more and more about his activities. And even Lord Vishnu also, when he appeared to Prthu along with Indra, he said that, so my dear Prthu, you should not show anger to Indra, since he is non-different from you. Good fortune to both of you. You are forms. Who are forms of the Supreme Lord? Both you and Indra are expansions of Lord Vishnu only. So both of you should not envy each other. So in that way. So then it is said that when all these Brahmajnana and Yoga Siddhis came, Prthu Maharaj wanted to accept one of the many Siddhis, that is giving up his body at his will immediately. So he accepts the Siddhi. That shows that he has become subservient to the Siddhis, not like that. That shows his eagerness to serve the Lord. That shows his bhakti toward the Supreme Lord. So in that way, King Pruthu's desire to give up his body by yoga or by one of the yoga siddhis is only showing the greatness of his devotion, in which he thinks of himself as an ordinary person. In spite of being an avatar of the Supreme Lord, is still thinking as an ordinary person. And since the siddhis came, on my own I cannot do much. So let me take shelter of one of the siddhis and give up the body, go to Vaikuntha, so that I can start my service to Supreme Lord. So that was the thought of King Prthu. So with that thought, he accepted one of the siddhis and he leaves the body. That is mentioned in the upcoming verses. So here, leaving the body, some examples are shown here. Mention of giving up his body is only for letting the materialists preserve their mentality that King Prthu is also one among us. He left his body like we leave our bodies. So he is one among us. He is no special. In order to leave behind that kind of thing in the people of low mindedness, so he left behind the body. This appearance is handled by Maya in the case of both avatars and the devotees. Among the forms of the Lord Rama does not give up his body. So among many avatars, sometimes avatars leave behind the material body and sometimes don't. They just disappear like that. Many avatars we see like that. Lord Narsinga appeared and disappeared. And Lord Varaha appeared and killed Hiranyaksha and disappeared. So like that many avatars come and go. But when it comes to some avatars like Lord Rama, he lived for a long time, then he disappeared. He did not leave behind any body. And among the devotees, Dhruva does not give up his body. These examples indicate the truth for all forms of the Lord and perfected devotees. So the forms of the Lord and that of the devotees are Shuddhasattva bodies. They are not material bodies. Their leaving the bodies is only to keep the secret of bhakti hidden, not to reveal the glories of bhakti to the people who are not qualified. So that's how we should understand. Sometimes they do not leave anybody behind, not required. So sometimes they leave behind just to follow the normal setting, normal understanding of the common people. So in that way. So with that intention, just to make sure that because Prthu Maharaj came to set up an ideal example as one among the human beings. So he follows the code of normal human beings. So he will leave behind the body. Just like Ashtanga yogis having gone to forest, how they raise prana and give up the body, that process he will follow in the upcoming verses. So like that. So today we'll continue from verse number 12 onwards. This section is a little technical. Maybe it is similar to what is mentioned in the 8th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, how Ashtanga yogis leave the body, or it is somewhat similar to what is mentioned in the second canto, second chapter, how a Ashtanga yogi who want to leave the body immediately. So following Krama Mukti, they raise prana gradually and then leaving behind one, two, three, all the elements, they attain Sayujya. So that procedure is mentioned in these verses. So we'll follow from verse number 12 onwards. Chinnayadir Chinnayadir Adigatatmagatir Nirihas Tattatyajechidam Satyatyajedjinad idam vayunena yena Tavanna yogagatiberyati apramatto Yavad gadagrajadakata suratim na kuryat.
When he became completely free from the conception of bodily life, Maharaja Prthu realized Lord Krishna sitting in everyone's heart as the Paramatma. Being thus able to get all instructions from him, he gave up all other practices of yoga and jnana. He was not even interested in the perfection of the yoga and jnana systems, for he thoroughly realized that devotional service to Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and that unless the yogis and jnanis become attracted to Krishna Katha, narrations about Krishna, their illusions concerning existence can never be dispelled.
Yeah. So this verse is somewhat similar to 18th chapter. Brahmabhuta prasannatma na sochati na kankshasi samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktin lavate param bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanyachasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato jnatva vishitantaram. Like that, only by bhakti one knows the Supreme Lord, something like that. So here our Maitreya is saying that having destroyed the concept of being his body, having realizing the form of Paramatma, and being without desire for siddhis, King Prthu destroyed his subtle body by taking shelter of jnana and then rejected that jnana. As long as one does not have attraction for the topics of the Supreme Lord, the jnani will be attached to the yoga siddhis and liberation. So one of the important philosophical aspects is indicated here. So when Brahmajnana came, when Ashtasiddhis came, first he accepted the Brahmajnana. So with the help of Brahmajnana, without any siddhis which increase one's material prosperity and all, by taking shelter of that Brahmajnana, he destroyed his concept of being subtle body. He destroyed that he is a human. The concept of he is a human being. He is a male, and he is king. This, that, all these things will be destroyed from the concept of Brahmajnan. Basically, Brahmajnan means Aham Brahmosmi. I am not this. I am not that. I am not this. I am Brahman, a fragmental particle of the Supreme Brahman. So that is the essential principle teaching of Brahmajnan. Basically, Brahmajnan means Adhyatma Vidya. Adhyatma Vidya Vidyayam, as Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Among all the types of educations, I am the Adhyatma Vidya. That knowledge which teaches one the nature of the soul, etc., connection with the Supreme Soul, etc. So basically, he had taken shelter of the Jnana, the Brahma Jnana, which came as a maid servant. With the help of that, he destroyed the conception of having a subtle body. Now he became pure soul. And then, by the way, he did not show any attachment to this, who also came to serve him. So that shows his complete detachment. So on the other hand, here the second next line indicates that Tavanna yoga gatibir yatirapramatto yavad gadagraja katasu ratimna kuryat. As long as one does not have attraction for the topics of the Supreme Lord, the Jnani will be attached to the Yoga Siddhis and liberation. What Prthu Maharaj is doing externally, if somebody else do that externally, they certainly become attracted to Yoga Siddhis to become prosperous in this material world, or they will be attracted to the final goal of Brahmajnana, that is Sahajya Mukti. But here Prthu, though he had taken Brahmajnana, he had taken the help of Brahmajnana, it is only just to destroy the subtle body, not to attain Brahman or not to attain any siddhis. That is because within the core of the heart, he was completely attached to Lord Mukunda. So as long as one is not attached to Lord Mukunda, if they perform this such kind of severe austerities, they will be certainly attracted to Brahmajnan or Yoga Siddhis, because they will be awarded to that person whoever follow this kind of severe austerities. So that is what is indicated here. So this is one of the important principle. So basically, from our point of view, we can see that those who work very hard, they will get name, fame, prestige, and wealth, everything. If a person is not a devotee within the core of his heart, certainly they will become attracted to the external allurements offered by these processes, performing of severe austerities, that name, fame, adoration, and also some siddhis, some mystic powers, etc. If a person is completely surrendered to Supreme Lord within the core of his heart, they will not be disturbed by such kind of allurements. So it is like that. That's what Srila Prabhupada wanted to indicate in this verse. Anyabilata Shunnam Jnana Karmadi Anavrutam Anukulena Krishnanushulam Bhaktiruttama. So as long as one does not have Uttama Bhakti in the core of the heart, they will be allured by the allurement offered by one's practices. So that is one of the important thing one should remember. He destroyed the concept of being the body, being the subtle body. He realized the form of Paramatma. The result of destroying the subtle body is realization of Paramatma. He had no desire for material siddhis, though they have come to serve him. So he did not take any of this. He just took the help of Brahmagyan just to destroy the subtle body so that he will have the vision of Paramatma. So now the question is, he had no desire for siddhis. So how can you say that? How could he give up all desires since he accepted the process of Brahmajnana? So both Ashtasiddhis came and Brahmajnana also came. So he accepted Brahmajnana, and how can you say that he did not accept Siddhis? So that is impartiality. One may question like that. Then the answer is given is that he accepted Brahmajnana, and by that he destroyed the subtle body, and then he rejected the Brahmajnana. Thus actually he was without desire. That is understanding. He did not accept Brahmajnana so that he will attain Sahajya Mukti. He just accepted Brahmajnana since it has come to serve him as a token of reciprocation. He accepted Brahmajnana. With the help of that, he destroyed subtle body. Then he gave up Brahmajnana. The meaning is there are two types of results by practicing Shuddha Bhakti. One is the primary result is desired result. The primary is the desired result, and the secondary is unsought results. The desired result of practicing Shuddha Bhakti is Prema Bhakti. All of us supposed to practice Sadhana Bhakti in order to attain Prema Bhakti. But while practicing Uttama Bhakti, there are so many other desires also will come. There are so many other results also will come. What are they? Such as Brahmajnana, that such as Ashtasiddhis, and many other things. Name, fame, prestige, and other things. If a devotee has a desire for these secondary results that arrive on their own as a maid servants, his bhakti becomes restricted. The Shuddha Bhakti will be covered by Jnana and Karma. So Shuddha Bhakti is supposed to be Anya Vilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavrutam. So Jnana and Karma, the results of Jnana and the results of Karma should not cover their desire to practice Shuddha Bhakti. If one becomes attracted to Brahmajnana or Ashtasiddhis, they will be their bhakti is covered by this Jnana and Karma. So that is the understanding. Or anything, any other results in that sense. So that is what indicated. So Prthu Maharaj, out of eagerness to go back to Vaikuntha as quickly as possible, he accepted the Brahmajnana. So that he thought that since I am practicing so many austerities for many months, Dhruva, my ancestor, attained darshan of the Lord within 6 months. I have already passed more than 6 months. I still do not have darshan of Paramatma. So for that, he thought that okay, my subtle body is still intact. Let me destroy it. With that intention, he took the shelter of Brahmajnana. That's all. As soon as his subtle body is destroyed, he had the vision of Paramatma. He gave up the practice of Brahmajnana. So that is the understanding. So this particular theme is also mentioned in the 11th canto, 15th chapter by Lord Krishna in the Uddhava Gita. He says that Antarayan vadanteta yunjato yogamuttamam maya samapadya manasya kalakshapana hetava. The learned experts state that the mystic perfections of Ashtanga Yoga are actually impediments on the path of bhakti. For one who is practicing the supreme yoga, that is Bhakti Yoga, okay, who is absorbed in me, by having attained me, the siddhis are a waste of time. If a pure devotee interested in attaining Krishna Prema or Prema Bhakti, if they become allured by the Ashtasiddhis, that will be a big impediment on their spiritual progress. That Lord Krishna states in the Uddhava Gita. However, the ability to reject these secondary results depends on the strength of one's practice of Shuddha Bhakti. How strong we are in the practice of our sadhana bhakti and how strong we are in order to attain only Prema Bhakti, nothing else in this world. What is that? Ananyas Chintayantu Mam Ejana Pariupaste. That Ananya Chinta means other than Prema Bhakti, I don't want anything else. So how strong we are resolved on that particular theme, to that extent, we are not allured by Brahmajnana or Ashtasiddhis or any other material name, fame, profit, adoration, pujala, pratishta, etc. So that is the understanding. Srila Sri Swami says, King Prthu did not have attraction to these second results because he was completely attracted to the talks concerning Lord Krishna. The proof was when Lord Vishnu was saying again and again, please ask for liberation, ask for liberation. Then Prthu says, no, I don't want any liberation. So I am calling you Kaivalya. I just want you give liberation to those who want liberation. I am not as expert as them. I am a simple ordinary person. Please give me Krishna Bhakti only. Nothing more than. Please give me Prema Bhakti. Nothing more than that. Let the liberation be glorified as the highest thing. Let the great scholars can attain it. I don't have any problem. Just give me thousands of years so that I can take the association of your wonderful devotees. I can continue to hear your Krishna Katha. So that is what is it. Because he was attracted to the talks concerning Lord Krishna. Karna ayutame eshame vara. Karna ayutam eshame vara. He just desired to have thousands of years so that he can hear Krishna Katha which was happening all over the world. So that desire from the very beginning shows that Prthu is not interested in other blessings. He is only interested in Prema Bhakti. So that shows his state of heart. So in that way. Any questions you are able to follow?
Yes, Prabhuji, no question.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, when you explained that Prithu Maharaj accepted the Brahmajnana for the purpose of destroying the subtle body, and because he realized that since after 6 months has passed, but he has not still, achieved he attained the Lord. And so for that purpose, he accepted Brahmajnana and then he left that and then he continued with the bhakti. So does it mean that to destroy the subtle body, Brahmajnana is required and only with the bhakti one cannot destroy the subtle body?
No, not like that. He is trying to set a best example for those who traditionally practice the traditional yoga ladder. In the core of the heart is a pure devotee. He does not want to display the process of pure devotional service externally. Externally, he is acting like a normal yoga ladder sadhaka. In the Bhagavad
Okay.
Gita, you are not our Bhakti Shastri, but in the Bhagavad Gita, just the two verses I mentioned, Brahmabhuta prasannatma na sochati na kangshati samas sarveshu bhuteshu. So this is the state after practicing Nishkama Karma Yoga as a householder. As a result of that Nishkama Karma Yoga, one's heart is purified of all the material desires. Then one is qualified to take to renunciation, either Vanaprasar Sannyasa. They take to Vanaprasar Sannyasa, they go to forest. Then they practice Jnana Yoga with the help of severe austerities, etc. Eventually, by the practice of the Jnana Yoga, they come to the platform of Jivan Mukta. Or some of them who want to leave their body quickly, they can take shelter of Ashtanga Yoga. Then by the practice of Ashtanga Yoga, they come to the platform of Samadhi. So either a Jnana practitioner who comes to Jivan Mukta platform or a yoga practitioner who comes to Samadhi platform, what will be their consciousness at that time? That is Brahmabhuta Prasannatma. Now they realize they are Atma. They are no more the gross body, subtle body. They become completely satisfied. Prasannatma. Na sochati, na kangshati. They don't have any vichar, any desire or any lamentation in relation to things of this material world. Because now they understand they have nothing to do with the 24 elements. They are pure soul. And the nature of pure soul is Anandamaya Abhyasa, completely happy. They are experiencing that and they don't have anything to lament for and any hankering to gain for. Samas Sarveshu Bhuteshu, and they understand that just like me, I'm a pure soul, like that every living entity is a pure soul. That is the state of Jivan Mukta platform. This is the last point of mode of goodness. The practice of Jnana, the practice of Ashtanga Yoga can bring one to the last point of mode of goodness. And then they have to give up that Jnana practice. They have to give up yoga practice because jnana and yoga can avoid this one only, nothing more than this. And they have to give up mode of goodness also. Then they have to enter into the area called Shuddha Sattva platform with that pure Atma state of consciousness. Then what remains is there Mad Bhaktim Labate Param. Whatever bhakti they have till now as a secondary anga, only that remains. Now with that practice of that bhakti, bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yas chatmi tatataha. So with the practice of that bhakti alone, they will understand me in my full feature. Yavan yas chasmi tatataha. In tatataha, they will understand me in my full feature. They will realize me, understand me and realize me. Tato mam tatvato jnatva. Having understood me in tatvataha, so some people who are inclined for Brahman, they will understand me as Tat. Some people who are inclined to enter into Vaikuntha, they will understand me as Mam, Bhagavan feature, either Brahman feature or Bhagavan feature. Then Vishate Tadanantaram. Then they enter into Brahman or Vaikuntha. So that is the traditional yoga practice. Here Prthu Maharaj externally displaying that yoga practice. So in that way. One side in order to hide the glorious nature of the pure bhakti, and other side in order to set a proper example of the process which majority people follow. The majority people follow this traditional yoga ladder only, not bhakti process. So in that way.
Okay. Prabhuji, you mentioned that to hide the glorious nature of pure bhakti. Maybe I was not there in the last two classes, so I may have missed certain thing. But why to hide the glorious nature of pure
Lord
devotion?
Krishna himself hides the glory of bhakti. Why not others? He is also explanation of Lord
Okay.
Vishnu only. Lord Krishna says, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, Pavitram Idam Uttamam. He says it is Raja Vidya. So it's like that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Okay.
it is
Thank you.
hidden. It is not spoken to general public. Pure bhakti
Yeah.
cannot be presented to everyone. Pure bhakti means Raganuga bhakti. Vedi sadhana
Yeah.
bhakti is available to people in general, but Raganuga bhakti is not available to anyone and everyone.
Yeah. Right. Thank you.
So in that way. So any other devotee has any question? Okay. Seeing that one of the siddhis, that is dying at will, this is also one of the many siddhis. In the previously it is said that he accepted Brahmagyan so that he can destroy the subtle body. So he took the help of that. Now he is going to accept the help of one of the Ashtasiddhis. What is that? Dying at will. Not siddhis. He can get something here, he can get something here, he can get new world, he can like so many, he can control others, not such kind of siddhis. Dying at will, which had arrived to him in order to serve him. King Prthu developed a desire to accept that. Just as he had accepted Ramajnana, since he desired to go quickly to the side of the Supreme Lord. Being taught the method of leaving the body by that Siddhi, who was like an expert in karma rituals, the King Prthu easily prepared to leave his body by his will. That is described in next 6 verses. 12 to 18 talks about taking the help of one of the 8 siddhis, which help one understand how to leave the body immediately. That is basically Shat Chakra Yoga, raising prana from the Mooladhara Chakra to Ajna Chakra, and then piercing to Brahmarandra and giving up this material body and material world. That Shat Chakra Yoga process, he took shelter of. And then he leaves the body. That is explained in 12 to 18. Little louder, huh?
Basically, yoga does this.
That's what whatever the process yogis follow, that's what he are displaying externally in order to set a good example for common people. Everyone cannot be in that pure devotional service. So most of the people follow this Bhakti Mishra Yoga or Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Even devotees also, as Bhagavad Gita chapter 8 says that if they are completely detached from this material world, if they want to leave the body, leave this world immediately, they can take the help of Ashtanga Yoga. No problem in that. Even devotees also, pure devotees who are practicing Raganu Bhakti also, If they don't want to continue anymore in this world, they can take the help of Ashtanga Yoga and leave the body. That is only a process. So it is not, one is not taking the shelter of Ashtanga Yoga to enter into Brahman. They are taking shelter of Ashtanga Yoga to enter into Vaikuntha only. Otherwise, if death is supposed to come on its own, it will take another 10 years. So you can go to Vaikuntha before 10 years only. You can serve the Lord in person for 10 years. So why to miss that opportunity? So Bhagavad Gita itself, it is clearly indicated that even devotees also can take shelter of Ashtanga Yoga. No issue.
Here it said he has arrived.
Siddhis will come. When one practices bhakti very sincerely, all siddhis will come to them. Ashtasiddhis and many other siddhis, primary, secondary, tertiary, all siddhis will come. Brahmajnan will come on its own. That's what we discussed in the last time. Yeah, you were not there on Sunday. What is this first chapter, first canto, second chapter? Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. The result of practicing sadhana bhakti is prema bhakti. That is the primary results. The second result is Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ayetukam. So Vairagya means the result of Ashtanga Yoga, and Jnana means Brahmajnana. They will also come on their own. Everything will be manifested unto the devotee who comes to the platform of Bhava Prema. So in that way, yeah, it is there. So, evam savira pravara samyojatmanam brahma bhuto drudam kale tatyaja swam kalevaram.
In due course
In
of
due
time,
course of time, Prthu Maharaj was able to fix his mind firmly upon the lotus feet of Krishna, and thus completely situated on Brahmabhuta platform, he gave up the material body.
So internally, he was thinking about Lord's lotus feet. Externally, he was practicing the yoga process. Because he wanted to give up the body as soon as possible. The best of heroes, Veera Pravara, joining his determined mind, Drudam Atmanam, joining with his determined mind, with his spiritual body, and becoming purely spiritual, gave up his body at that time. So taking shelter of that Shashakra Yoga, the one of the Yoga Siddhis, in meditating on the Supreme Lord, with the intent of going back to Godhead, he took the shelter of the Ashtanga Yoga process, Shatchakra Yoga process, and gave up his body. He was the best of the courageous, giving up the body at this time, becoming a pure spiritual form. Immediately let me go to Vaikuntha and serve the feet of the Lord. This was the desire of Prthu Maharaj. This was his great eagerness, fixing his mind on his form as an associate of the Supreme Lord, becoming a pure spiritual form. He left his body. He had only one thought: I am the eternal servant of the Supreme Lord. Let me continue my service in the spiritual world. Let me give up this material world. With that thought, he gave up the material body. Of course, here in this verse, it says that he already gave up the body, attained spiritual form. But how he gave up, the details are mentioned in the next two verses. 14th onwards, the exact details, how he gave up this body, how he gave up this world, everything is in detail, it is explained. So Prabhupada quotes that verse, Krishna Tvadiya Padapankaja Panjarantam Adyeva me Vastume Manasa Raja Hamsa. In the 18th chapter only, sorry, in the 8th chapter Bhagavad Gita only, this verse again Prabhupada quotes. The same verse, if you refer to Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, this verse comes, where the devotee desires to give up the body. This prayer, it says that Mukunda Mala Sutra. So right now my body is good, it is fit, and my mind is also fit. I can think of the Lord's lotus feet. So let me give up my body right now. I don't know what will happen to me at the time of death. My throat will be filled with kapha. I will not be able to chant. My mind may become deranged. I may not be able to think of the Supreme Lord. You are praying to Lord that now I am fit, let me give up the body. So, in one sense, he is telling theoretically, Here Prthu is doing practically, taking shelter of that yoga siddhi, which will enable one to give up the body, is giving up the body when he's good and going back to Godhead to start his service to Lord in person. So in that way. So now from this next verse onwards, they talk about how did he give up his body? How did he give up this material world? So that elaborate procedure is mentioned. Sampedyapayum parshnibhyam vayum ustarayan shanai nabhyam košteshu avastapya hrud urakanta shirshani.
When Maharaja Prthu practiced a particular yogic sitting posture, he blocked the toes of his anus with his ankles, pressed his right and left calves, and gradually raised his life air upward, passing it on to the circle of his navel, up to his heart and throat, and finally pushed it upward to the central position between his two eyebrows.
Yeah. So now taking the shelter of that Shatchakra Yoga, the process of giving up the body, he raises his prana from Muladhara Chakra to Adhisthana Chakra, Agnya Chakra. So that is what it is indicated. So step by step moves upward the prana. Pressing the anus with both the ankles, he gradually let the air, air means prana. Here it is called Vayu means air or prana, from the Muladhara Chakra to the Swadhisthana Chakra, and then to Manipuraka Chakra, then to Anahata Chakra, then to Vishuddha Chakra, and finally to Agnya Chakra. Agnya Chakra is there in the Shirashi. Shirshni means the forehead, the area between the two eyes. And Vishuddha Chakra is there in the Kanta, in the throat. Anahata Chakra is there in the Ura. Ura means the chest portion just below the throat or something like that. And then Manipuraka Chakra is there in the heart, Hrud, heart region. And Swadhisthana Chakra is there in the Nabi region. And Muladhara Chakra is there where Payu is there. So in that way. So the method of leaving the body appeared spontaneously. The asana for leaving the body is described here. It is called Mukta Asana. So Mukta Asana means the asana supposed to be followed by Ashtanga yogis in order to attain Mukti, the giving up the body. It is said that Sampedya Shiranim Sukshmam Gulpe Naivatu Madhyata Savve Dakshina Gulpene Muktasanam Itiritam. Pressing the fine passageway near the anus with the left ankle. Then with the right ankle, pressing the left ankle is called Muktasana. So basically, a normal person gives up the body, exiting through one of the 9 holes that the body contains. But Ashtanga Yogi is not supposed to leave the body through one of these 9 holes. They actually close these 9 holes, then bring the prana to Agnya Chakra, and then piercing through Brahmarandra, they leave the body. So the piercing through Brahmarandra enables one to go to Brahman. Or leaving the body through one of these 9 holes enables one to go to different places within the world only. They cannot go beyond the universe. So that limitation is there. That's why they take shelter of Muktasana. So with the help of 2 ankles, they close the 2 passageways which are there below the anus and genital, and then they press the pranas to go upward from Muladhara Chakra onwards. So by pressing these 2, taking shelter of Muktasana, they lead the prana to the Muladhara. They lead the prana from Muladhara Chakra upwards to Swadhisthana Chakra, and then one should fix the prana at the level of at the area of navel, because the Swadhisthana Chakra is located in the navel area, and from there to the Manipuraka Chakra. So Manipuraka Chakra, where is that Manipur Chakra? Which is close to heart, and from there raise it to Anahata Chakra in the heart region. Manipuraka chakra and Anahata chakra are both are there in the heart region and chest. Rud means heart, Hura means chest. Both are in the same place. So one should raise the prana to heart and then chest. And from there, one should bring it to Vishuddhi chakra, which is located below the throat, which is in Khanta, just below the throat. Then one should fix the air between the brows, Sirsni, at the Ajna chakra. So raise the prana from the throat to the forehead, the area between the two eyebrows. That is called Ajna chakra. So right like that, the prana is supposed to be brought up and up and up and up. So it is brought to the topmost region. So in some versions, instead of Vayu, they use Asu, which means prana. Also seen either Vayu or Asu, both are prana only. So in that way, we have to understand. So he taking the help of that Ashtasiddhi, one of the Ashtasiddhis, he raised the prana from Mooladhara chakra to Swadhisthana chakra, then Manipuraka chakra, then Anahat chakra, then Vishuddhi chakra, finally to the Ajna chakra. So Prabhupada says that on the other hand, devotees simply depending on the Supreme Lord, they wait for the natural death to come. After natural death, they will go back to Godhead. But since Prthu Maharaj is so eager to go to Vaikuntha immediately, he took the shelter of Shat Chakra Yoga. So in that way. This is called Shat Chakra Yoga, raising the prana from Mooladhara chakra to Ajna chakra. Vastharpayantu tammurdhni Kramenavesh nispruha Vayum Vayu Shitaukayam Tejas Tejasi Ayuyujat.
In this way, Prthu Maharaj gradually raised his air of life up of his skull, whereupon he lost all desires for material existence. Gradually, he managed his air of life with the totality of air, his body with the totality of earth, and the fire within his body with the totality of fire.
Yeah. He gradually led the prana to the Brahmarandra, from Ajna chakra to Brahmarandra. Murdhni. Murdhni means Brahmarandra. And without any desire, without any material desire, nispruha, without any desire to go to any of the planets in the universe, he merged the air in his body with the totality of air, and the earth and fire of his body with the totality of the earth and fire. Till now, he was living in his own body, which is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether. They are in one sense, they are his belongings. So now he is leaving them behind and getting out of the body. That means he leaving them behind so that they can reunite with the universal elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether eventually. That's what happens now when by voluntarily or by force, when one leaves the body, eventually at the cremation, the five bodily elements will merge back into the Panchama Bhutas in the material nature. So that's what. So he said that, oh air, you don't belong to me. You go to your owner. Oh earth element, you do not belong to me. Go to earth element, the main earth element. Go to your source. Oh fire, you do not belong to me. Go to your source. So like that, he gave them up. So at the top of the head, he fixed the air at the Brahmarandra. He then merged the air in the body. The air in the body, which we call it as the prana or the breathing air, with the totality of air. Till now he was breathing. Now he stopped breathing. That means he will not take the help of breathing air anymore. So my dear air, till now you have served me. Thank you very much for everything. You please go back to your owner. And merged the other four elements of the body, earth, water, fire, ether, with the totality of those elements. So this is how one has to say goodbye to all the elements or all the people who assisted one as long as one is living in this world.
It cannot be done by anybody. That's so very high level of practice.
That's what. Even devotees also need to say thanks to everyone.
Oh,
Even when we leave our body, we should tell thanks to earth element, we should tell thanks to fire element, water element.
every
For elements only, we should say thanks to. Then what speak of other devotees who helped us throughout our life? That is the gentlemanly gratitude, expressing gratitude and living honorably. So it's like that. It means he left behind the grass body made up of the 5 grass elements, telling them, thank you very much for serving me all these years. Now you please go back and reunite with your original master. So like that.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, here the mention was that those who leave the body through one of the 9 randhras of the body, they remain in this material world only. This is only for the yogis or for everyone, for the devotees also?
No, that is for not for yogis, not for the devotees. That is for the karmis. That is for the normal conditioned souls, normal people around who live life
Okay,
just for the sake of living.
okay. Thank
Because
you,
the
Prabhuji. And
yogis
also,
don't leave the body through 9 holes. They raise the prana to Brahmarandra and then leave behind. And the devotees, their life and death is not in their hands. The devotees' life and death is in the hands of Krishna. And Krishna personally will take them. So how they go, it is immaterial. Krishna will take care of that. So that
yeah,
living through the 9, even it can be witnessed outside generally when somebody dies. So before taking for cremation grounds, they actually bathe. They give him or her new dress. And if it is Mataji, they also decorate nicely with golden ornaments. So if the husband is still alive, they decorate her nicely as she used to live normally. So after going to cremation ground, they'll remove all the ornaments. That is a different thing. So when they bathe, people in general, they observe that the dead person had passed stool or urine. So generally, the common phrase is that such kind of people leave their soul passing through one of those 2 holes, either genital or anus. So that is how it is understood. So when they pass stool or urine, along with that, the soul leaves, soul and subtle body leaves from their body. And some people we can see while dying, they wide open their mouth. Some people they wide open their eyes. Some people they breathe out loudly and they stop. They don't breathe in. Huh? They breathe out and along their soul goes away and they don't breathe again. So, and we should understand that these people are little pious than compared to the other people who leave the body through the urine or stool. So like that, this some of the parameters we can understand what kind of future destiny they will get.
so
The
okay,
upper
yeah.
5 holes, at least they are comparatively more pious. They will get better destiny. Either Sargaloka or not. Even in the Bhuloka also, they will get birth in some of the wealthy family, aristocratic family, wealthy family, or Brahmana's family, something like that. So that is general understanding.
Yeah, and through the lower holes, I think some animal species or something I have heard somewhere. I don't.
Yeah, animals which are something. First of all, they'll go to our dear sir Yamaraj. So
Okay.
afterwards, what happens is all details.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
प्राणि आकाशे द्रवं तोये यथा स्थानं विभागसा क्षितिम् अम्बसि तत्तेजसि अदो वायु नभसि अमुम्.
In this way, according to the different positions of the various parts of the body, Prthu Maharaj merged the wholes of his senses with the sky, his bodily liquids such as blood and various secretions with the totality of water, and he merged earth with water, then water with fire, fire with air, air with sky, and so on.
Yeah, kindly one what you can say precautionary note, or we can say postscript or cautionary note, something like that. So this is the valid understanding of based on Shastra. That doesn't mean that if somebody dies passing stool or urine, we should not criticize them saying that, oh, since he passed stool, urine, so he's a very sinful person, will go to hell. Not like that. We should never say in front of any person, whether we may have good relation or bad relation with that person. So that is not a easy. It is well known, commonly understood. Whatever it is, when somebody dies, our normal language, they say that Sarga was ho gaya. Whether that person really gone or not, no one cares about it. But addressing in a respectable way is like that they have gone to upper lokas. So that is the general vocabulary is being used in India, all these generations. So in that way. But within, I mean, for our analysis, we can see all these things, but we should never speak out all these things. So now, what exactly he did? So how did he say goodbye to all the elements? That is, some details are mentioned. They seem to be too technical, but you don't worry so much whether you understand or not. Let us read through. He merged the ether in his body with the totality of ether. That's what he was telling. I was telling that he said goodbye to ether. My dear ether, all these years you helped me. Now you go back to your source. And the water in his body with the totality of water. Earth. Okay. So like that, one after the other, all the 5 elements, he said goodbye to all. In the previous verse talked about 3 elements. This verse talked about 2 elements. 5 elements, he said bye bye to you. And then he merged earth into water, water into fire, fire into air, and air into ether. In the creation, we saw that the first element appeared is ether. From ether came air. From air came fire. From fire came water. From water came earth. So he's giving them to their source. He is telling earth to go to your source water, water to your source fire, fire to air, air to ether. So like that. After destroying the body, that means after giving up the body, one meditates on destroying the 5 elements, the 5 tanmatras, to achieve the Atma separate from the body. One merges the earth or fragrance into the water, that is taste. So, by saying goodbye to Panchamahabhutas, one leaves behind the gross body. But normal understanding is that the subtle body passes along with the soul. So one has to give up the subtle body also. In one sense, subtle body contains the 4 tanmatras, 4 antakaranas, man, buddhi, ahankara, chetana, and 5 jnanendriyas, 5 karmendriyas. In one sense, the 5 tanmatras also there. Now, how he is giving up the 5 tanmatras? He is merging the fragrance into what? Taste, taste into form, form into touch, touch into sound. Instead of mentioning the 5 tanmatras, the shloka talks about the 5 gross elements. So in that way. Having described the destruction of the 5 elements up to ether, along with their tanmatras, along with their properties, which are all produced of ahankara in tamas, the destruction of the products of ahankara in sattva and rajas are described. Ahankara in tamas gives birth to the 5 tanmatras and also 5 panchamahabhutas. And ahankara in sattva guna gives mind and devatas. In rajas gives intelligence, prana, jnanendriyas and karmendriyas. And how he said bye bye to all of them. That is mentioned in the next verses. Indriyeshu manastani tanmatreshu yatodbhavam bhutadinamuni utkrishya mahati atmani sandade.
He amalgamated the mind with the senses and the senses with the sense object, according to their respective positions, and he also amalgamated the material ego with the total material energy, Mahatattva.
Yeah. How did he say bye bye to all the subtle body? He merged the mind into the senses. So it says that Indriyeshu manastani. So he merged the mind into the senses and the senses into the sense objects according to the order they appear, order of their appearance. He merged the senses, so he merged the sense objects into Ahankara and Ahankara into Mahatattva. Because mind appears from the Ahankara in the mode of goodness and senses appear from the Ahankara in the mode of passion. So mind can execute all its functions with the help of senses. Senses can only perform activity in relation to sense objects. So on which they depend, into them they were sent. So like that. He merged the mind into senses along with the sense devatas. He merged the senses and their devatas into the 5 tanmatras. Because the mind is dependent on the senses, he merged the mind into the senses. Since the senses are dependent on the sense objects, he merged the senses into the sense objects. Indriyer Vishaya Krishter Akshiptam Dhyayatam Manaha. The mind of a person thinking of sense objects is bewildered by the senses attracted to those objects. When the mind constantly meditates on sense objects, the senses immediately gravitate to the sense objects and the mind follows after senses. So everyone is gone. Dhyayato Visham Vamsha Sangaste Shubhajajite. So that verse in that way. Because they depend upon that, he gave them to that one only. So in that way. They were merged according to the order in which they appeared. The mind and the sense devatas merge into the senses. Because mind and the sense devatas do not have their own swarupas without the senses. The mind and the devatas do not function, do not operate without the help of senses. Since they depend upon senses, they were merged into senses. But even the senses depend on the tanmatras. This is the conception. Because senses also cannot perform any activity, there are no sense objects. If there is no air, can the nostril breathe? If there is no object to see, can the eye see something? No. Only when there is object, there is a function to the senses. So in that way, since they depend upon them, they were given to them. He then merged the tanmatras into Hankara. So the mind and devatas were merged into senses, the senses were merged into tanmatras, the tanmatras were merged into Ahankara. All the products are done. Who is the source of the gross elements? And then he merged Ahankara into Mahatattva, which is the source of Ahankara. Like that, all elements, the 23 elements are entered into 24th element Mahatattva. So like that. Tam sarvaguna vinyasam jive mayame nyadat tam chanushayam atmastam asau anushayi puman jnana vairagya viryena swarupasto jahat prabhu.
Prthu Maharaj then offered the total designation of the living entity unto the supreme controller of illusory energy. Being released from all the designations by which the living entity became entrapped, he became free by knowledge and renunciation and by the spiritual force of his devotional service. In this way, being situated in his original constitutional position of Krishna consciousness, he gave up this body as a Prabhu or controller of the senses.
Yeah. Then, after merging the elements into their respective dependents and their sources, he came to the point of Mahatattva. Then he placed the Mahatattva into Prakriti, the Pradhana, which is the covering of the Jiva. It is Pradhana or it is material nature, which transforms into 24 elements, which transform into gross body, subtle body, which are actually our covering. So everything now came to Pradhana. King Prthu, fully capable of taking shelter of Prakriti, fully capable the shelter of Prakriti, then gave up Prakriti, situated behind him by the power of Jnana and Vairagya, though he was already situated in his spiritual body. So now, having merged Mahatattva into Prakriti, Prthu Maharaj gave up that Prakriti. He said bye-bye to Prakriti also. Oh, material nature made up of 3 modes. Thank you very much for serving me all these years. We don't know how many thousands of years he was living. So now he's saying bye bye to it. He could do that because he had the power of jnana and vairagya externally. He had the power of bhakti internally. And more than that, he was eager to go to Vaikuntha and serve the Lord. Jnana vairagena virena. So, having obtained spiritual body, he entered into the spiritual abode of the Supreme Lord. So, this is how very easily King Prthu gave up the gross body and subtle body made up of 24 elements under the supervision of Prakriti or Pradhana. He placed the shelter of all the gunas in Maya. That means he placed Mahatattva into Pradhana. Pradhana is said to be the covering on the Jiva. It is by Pradhana only we get the gross body and subtle body. That is the biggest thing to give up. We can give up so many other things, but giving up Pradhana is very, very, very difficult. But Prthu Maharaj had the ability to give up Pradhana very easily because he has no attachment to this material world. So that is what is indicated. By taking shelter of Brahmajnana and Vairagya detachment, he could give up that Pradhana very easily because he was situated in his body as an associate of the Lord, which was obtained through bhakti. So by the practice of internal bhakti, the smaranam, he already attained spiritual form. His spiritual form already revealed. So he was not interested in the material form. So he was saying bye bye to his material form. So like that. Thus he is called Prabhu because he is capable of giving up his covering. That is basically Pradhana. Then boarding a vehicle sent by the Lord, he went to Vaikuntha, the spiritual abode of the Lord. Having said bye bye to Pradhana, then Vimana came from spiritual world. He boarded it and went to Vaikuntha.
Here only is in Swarupa.
His Swarupa was already revealed. Yes. It will come later, but it is mentioned here only. After giving a body, अभी कितना देर रुकेंगे इधर? जाना पड़ेगा ना? Obviously, Vimana will come. Not only for him, for anyone, Vimana will come. He is not going to Brahman. ब्रह्मन जाने के लिए विमान नहीं आएगा, because वहां पे कोई नहीं रहते और विमान लाने के लिए कोई नहीं रहते हैं. He is going to Vaikuntha, so Vimana came to take him to Vaikuntha. So it's like that. Vimana will come for anybody. Whoever want to go to Vaikuntha, Vimana will come. So thus, till 18th verse, we discussed about how Prthu Maharaj went back to Godhead, taking the help of Brahmajnana and Shat Chakra Yoga, one of the Ashtasiddhis. He gave up the body just like the people outside do it. In order to set a good example, ideal example, how to practice the austerities of Vanaprasada and how to give up the body, etc. etc. So basically, this is the process known as Yoga Mishra Bhakti. He was actually a pure devotee in the core of the heart. He was practicing Bhakti only, but externally he has taken shelter of Ashtanga Yoga so that he can give up the body quickly. That is called Yoga Mishra Bhakti, as it is mentioned in the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and also in the second canto, second chapter is also mentioned. So in that way. So following in the footsteps of Prthu, his wife Arci also came to the forest. Till now there was no mention of what happened to Arci. So what was the situation? Now in the next section, it talks about what did Arci do? And after the death of her husband, Prthu, what did she do? What happened to her? That is mentioned. 4 verses describe his wife Arci from the time they went to the forest. Archir nama maharajni tatpatni anugatavanam sukumari atadarha cha yatpadbhyam sparshanam bhuva.
The queen, the
queen-
wife of Prthu Maharaj, whose name was Arci, followed her husband into the forest. Since she was a queen, her body was very delicate. Although she did not deserve to live in the forest, she voluntarily touched her lotus feet to the ground.
Yeah. The great Queen Arci, his wife, whose feet should not touch the ground. That means she grew up in such a way that her feet never touched the hard surface of the earth. Because she would always live in the palace. Within the palace, everywhere it is coral, stones, marble, everything is there. Every place is smooth and decorated very nicely. Most probably they must have put flower pathways when she comes out, when she goes to Royal Assembly or in the, basically her feet never touched the bare floor. But now for the first time in her life, she came to the forest along with her husband. She is not meant to practice your austerities, but she is so chaste. She is voluntarily agreed to follow in the footsteps of Prthu Maharaj in order to take up all the austerities. So in that way, Anugata Vanam, she came to the forest. Having come to forest, what did she do? Ativa Bharturva Tadharma. So it said that Ativa Bharturva Tadharma Nishtaya Susrushaya Chasra Susrushaya Sarsa Dehayatraya Navindatartim Parikarshitapi Sapreyaskara Sparshanamana Nivruti.
Although she was not accustomed to such difficulties, Queen Arci followed her husband in a regulative principle of living in the forest like a great sages. She lay down on the ground and ate only fruits, flowers, and leaves, and because she was not fit for these activities, she became frail and thin. Yet, because of the pleasure she derived in serving her husband, she did not feel any difficulties.
Yeah. So in the previous purport, Prabhupada quotes the examples of Mother Sita and Gandhari. When Lord Ram was going to forest, Mother Sita forcefully said, "You should take me to the forest." Even though Lord Rama told her, "No, no, it is not meant for you." Still she came. Gandhari also followed Dhritarashtra. And that is the nature of a chaste woman, like that Prabhupada mentions. So now in the current purport, the verse number 20th purport, Prabhupada writes some heavy instructions. The words Bhartur Vratadharma Nishtaya indicates that a woman's duty or religious principles is to serve her husband in all conditions. In Vedic civilization, a man is taught from the very beginning of his life to become a brahmachari, then ideal grostha, then vanaprastha, then sannyasi. And the wife is taught just to follow the husband strictly in all conditions of life. So in the previous purport, Prabhupada mentioned that Arci sat along with Prthu on the throne when he sat on the throne. When he went to forest, she also followed after him to the forest. So like that. So like that, the wife should follow strictly in all conditions of life her husband. After the period of brahmacharya, a man accepts a householder's life, and the woman is also taught by her parents to be a chaste wife. Thus, when a girl and boy are united, both are trained for a life dedicated to a higher purpose. The boy is trained to execute his duty in accordance with the higher purpose of life, and the girl is trained to follow him. The chaste wife's duty is to keep her husband pleased in householder life in all respects. And when the husband retires from the family life, she is to go to the forest and adopt the life of the Vanaprastha or Vanavasi. At that time, the wife is to follow her husband and take care of him just as she took care of him in householder life. But when the husband But when the husband takes the renounced order of life, namely sannyasa, the wife is to return home and become a saintly woman, setting an example for her children and daughter-in-law and showing them how to live a life of austerity. So as long as Vanaprastha is going on, till then the wife should accompany the husband. If the husband takes to sannyas, the wife will come back and lead a life of tapasya or austerity, setting a good example to the next generation. So that is the general custom of following Varnashrama lifestyle. So here what is mentioned? Although she became thin, having gone to forest, she did not experience pain by living like a sage, because she was simply serving her husband, following whatever her husband is following. So she never feel discomfort. So she was going through external bodily pain and austerities, but she never felt dissatisfied. She was with complete satisfaction only because she is following her husband. Serving with determination. She continued to serve her husband determination in spite of becoming thin. The vow of her intent husband, taking pleasure in his respect and touch of his hand. So for whatever she is doing, she was respected by King Prthu. So that gave her complete satisfaction. So she followed it in spite of being painful. So in that way. The vows considered of sleeping on the bare earth as well as hearing and chanting. Living like a sage means living off forest roots. Till now she was eating all the fine rites and all the wonderful delicacies. But now in the forest only fruits and roots, nothing more than that. Sometimes only dry leaves and water. She was blissful by the respect he gave her and the touch of his hand while doing service. So in that way. So she was thoroughly satisfied, even though in the midst of painful physical experiences, austerities, etc. देहं विपन्ना किल चेतनादिकं प्रत्युप्रतिव्या दयितस्य चात्मना आलक्ष्य किञ्चिच्च विलप्य सा सती चिताम् अतारोपयदद्रिसानु सानुनि.
When Queen
When
Arci saw that her husband, who had been so merciful to her and the earth, no longer showed symptoms of life, she lamented for a while and then built a fiery pyre on top of a hill and placed the body of her husband on it.
Yeah. Eventually, in due course of time, one fine day, the husband following Shatchakra Yoga left his body. Seeing that the body of our merciful husband, the master of the earth, the king, was without life symptoms. After lamenting a little, Kinchit cha vilapya, she placed the body of King Prthu on a funeral pyre on the summit of a hill. She herself prepared a funeral pyre, kept the dead body of her husband, and she is going to perform the final rites for her husband. Atmana Patyu means of her husband. He had been merciful, treating the earth as his daughter. She only lamented a little because she was anxious to finish the funeral rites. She was not lamenting for whole day and whole night and day after day, not like that. She just lamented for few minutes or so, something like that. Then immediately she prepared funeral rites. Then the most interesting thing happens. Vidaya krityam hrudini jalapluta datvodakam bharturudhara hrudara karmana natva divistam tridasham paritya viveshavahnim yayati bhartrupado.
After this, the
after
queen executed the necessary funerary functions and offered oblations of water. After bathing in the river, she offered obeisances to various demigods situated in the sky in the different planetary systems. She then circumambulated the fire and, while thinking of the lotus feet of her husband, entered its flame.
Yeah, this is what we see at our place also. So in order to perform final rites, we bathe the dead person, put new clothes, take him to the funeral pyre, put him in that, and lit fire. She's doing the same thing, herself doing everything. Performing the rites, taking bath in a lake, offering water to her husband of great fame, and offering respects to the 30 devatas. She circumambulated the pyre 3 times and entered the fire while meditating on the feet of her husband. So she bathed her husband, matlab husband's body, then put him on the final fire, lit the fire. Then she herself went to take bath in the river and then offered water to the ocean and to the devatas. And she moved around the fire for 3 times, and then she herself entered into the fire. She followed after her husband. The devatas had come to see King Prthu, and she could see them in the sky. She went around the fire 3 times, and then she offered respect to the fire. She offered respect to all the devatas who are looking from the sky. Then she entered into the fire. Who are the devatas? Divistam Tridasham. Here it is mentioned that Divistam Tridasham means so the 30 is mentioned. Divistam Tridasham means Tridasham. 30 only mentioned, but actually there are 33 devatas. 12 Adityas, 8 Vasus, 11 Rudras, 2 Ashwinis. This is actually 33 devatas, not 30. So 33 devatas came, offering respects to all of them. She entered fire. Principal devatas. Of course, many other devatas also might have come along with them, but these are the principal devatas, the 33 principal devatas. Yes. So Prabhupada talks about Sati Sagamana in the purport, that concept of. But in the traditionally, you see, only wife and husband went to forest, and because she had so affection for the husband, she went along with the husband to the forest, even though knowing that the life in the forest is not simple. So after husband gave up his body, she could not tolerate living without her husband. So she entered the fire. Entering fire itself is so unimaginable thing. And entering fire means like so much, what you can say, so much courage required. So it's like that.
They don't know how to practice yoga.
Sorry?
The women don't practice that strong yoga.
No, they are not trained in that. They are only trained to serve the husband. Just make sure that husband is practicing his duties. Because since they after marriage they are ardhangi. Whatever husband get, they automatically get other off.
Hare Krishna.
Any? Yes, Mataji.
प्रभुजी दिस 33 देवतास उन्हीं का एक्सपेंशन होके 33 करोड़ होता है कि मींस यूजुअली इन हिंदू कस्टम आल्सो इट सेज ना दैट 33 करोड़ देवी देवतास लाइक दैट
No, unika expansion nahi. They are all there. So in our assembly, how many ministers are there? Some number, some 20, 30.
yeah
But how many MPs are there? 500 plus.
Yeah.
560 plus, something like that. 560 odd number. So, but only few ministers are in the important roles. So like that. These 33 devatas are special and important devatas. Remaining all like assistant devatas.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll take a small break. Then we continue after the break. What happened? So what happens is basically Prthu was already traveling in one airplane, and another airplane will come to Arci, and she will travel in another airplane to the place where her husband went. So in that will be
left his body, you know, just into the yogic practice.
Vimana will come to take the spiritual body, not the material body. He was following the Chakra Yoga, na? For people in general, yogis leave behind the body, gross body. They leave behind the gross body. Otherwise, how will you leave the body? Some devotees directly enter into the Vimana with their self-same body, like Dhruva Maharaj or Tukaram Maharaj. That is exclusive case. 1 in crore. But most of the people follow this traditional yoga process. Prthu Maharaj is setting example not for few, for mass.
So it means that Vimana was already somewhere in the spiritual body of Vimana by putting his
Not like that. When he followed the process, he quits the body, then Vimana came and he boarded and go. Then so in that.
Time, right?
Okay, any questions, devotee from online?
No,
Okay.
Prabhuji, thank you.
Okay. So we'll have a small break, 2 minutes break, then we'll continue. Hare Krishna. We'll continue.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Vilokyanugatam sadvim prutum veeravaram pati tuštuvurvarada devair devapatnaya sahasrasha.
After observing this brave act performed by the chaste wife Arci, the wife of the great king Prthu, many thousands of the wives of the demigods, along with their husbands, offered prayers to the queen, for they were very much satisfied.
So when Prthu about to leave the body, the devatas came to witness that. When Arci was performing the final rites, they were witnessing. And when Arci herself entered into the fire, the wives of devatas are astonished. How can a tender lady can do such kind of brave act of entering into the fire? So they are very much surprised and they are very much satisfied and they are glorifying Arci. Seeing her follow her husband Prthu, who was the best of warriors, thousands of wives of devatas, capable of giving all blessings, began praising her as did the devatas. So both the devatas and all their wives, they all began to praise Arci. What Prthu did, many can do, but what Arci did is not that easy. So they praised Arci than Prthu. So it is like that.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Ah, yes, mother.
Actually, I was thinking that this verse has the word Deva Patniya Sahasraha. So already it is mentioned that at least there are 1,000 devatas and 1,000 wives.
Ah,
So when anybody argues about it's not 33 crores but it's only 33 devatas,
hmm.
this is the proof here, right?
Yes, yes, we can use this proof. No issue.
Yeah, because I think in the time of Sati also, when this one the Prajapati he was arranged to sacrifice, many devatas and their wives were going like, so that time
Ah,
also
yes,
the
many
definite
were going.
yeah. So this is so evident, like the proof is there that there are Sahasra devatas.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's common sense. Just to manage a small country known as India, we have
Hmm.
so many administrative members, such as MPs, MLAs, MLCs, and collectors, this, that, so much management is happening. It's just to maintain a small country, India. In order to
Yeah,
maintain three planet systems, how much more management is required? So it is very simple, normal, logical thing.
yeah, yeah.
So in that way.
Oh,
But
thank
among the devatas, the 33 category of devatas are very important in that sense.
can be
33
prominent.
koti is prominent,
Yeah, that's okay.
the most
Oh,
important one.
thank
Ah, yeah, हो सकता है. So, so that's what. Here, they did not glorify Pruthu, but they are glorifying Archi because this is a brave act, courageous act, which generally people cannot do much. So now, next, how did they glorify her? कुर्वत्या कुसुमासारं तस्मिन् सानुनि नन्दस्सु अमरतुर्येषु गृह्णन्ति स्म परस्परम्.
At that time, the demigods were situated on the top of Mandara Hill, and all their wives began to shower flowers on the funeral pyre and began to talk amongst themselves as follows.
While drums of the devatas sounded and the wives of the devatas showered flowers from the peak of Mandara mountain, the devatas spoke among themselves. Mandara mountain is in Jambudvipa, very close to Mount Meru. You want to go there?
This is where they were performing austerity.
No. They were performing austerities here only somewhere Himalayas. They did not go to Mandara. But the devatas are showering flowers from Mandara mountain. Little inside, little above. Why? Devatas can't sing. They are not human beings. They can, through mystic potency only, they can send wherever they want. Not. Our logic we should not apply to them. They can throw flowers horizontally, vertically, top to bottom, bottom to top, any direction they can send. No issue. आपको increase करना है तो increase कर सकते हैं. So it's like that. So what did they speak? Aho yiyam vadurdanya yachaivam bubujam patim sarvatmana patim beje Agnesham Srirvadur Iva.
The wives of the demigods said, "All glories to Queen Arci." We can see that this queen of the great king Prthu, the emperor of all the kings of the world, has served her husband with mind, speech, and body, exactly as the goddess of fortune serves the supreme personality of Godhead, Yadnesh or Vishnu.
Yeah. They say that, oh, she is the most fortunate. She worshipped her husband, the king of kings, with her whole soul, Sarvatmana, just as Mother Lakshmi worships Lord Vishnu. She was so dedicated to her husband that when her husband left the body, she did not want to continue anymore. She did the needful of performing the final rites, which is supposed to be done as sun, because in the forest there is no sun. She herself did, and she also entered into the fire. She gave up her life voluntarily. That is the greatness of Arci. So in the purport, last 3-4 lines, Prabhupada writes, in Vedic civilization, the husband and wife were not separated by such man-made laws as divorce. We should understand the necessity for maintaining family life in human society and should thus abolish this artificial law known as divorce. The husband and wife should live in Krishna consciousness and follow in the footsteps of Lakshmi Narayana or Krishna Rukmini. In this way, peace and harmony can be possible within this world. Like that. Saisanunam vrajanturdvam anuvainyam patim sati Pashyatasman atityarcher durvibhavyena karmana.
The wives of the demigods continued, just see how this chaste lady Arci, by dint of her inconceivable pious activities, is still following her husband upward, as far as we can see.
Yeah, that must be her traveling in the sky. So she entered into the fire, then the devatas played drums and showed flowers, then they are glorifying them. In the meantime, another airplane came and Sati, in her spiritual form, entered into that airplane. So now their ladies are saying that that must be her traveling in the sky. See her following her husband Prthu. Arci has surpassed us in inconceivable actions. Though we are devatas, that means the ladies are saying that though we are of devata category, we can give blessings to the human beings, but we cannot do this. Entering into burning fire. She has so love for her husband, she entered into a burning fire and gave up her life. We may not be able to do that. So she surpassed us in this inconceivable action. So in that way, they pointed at her with their fingers. There she goes. You see, there she goes up in the sky. Why look at the fire? Till now they were looking at the fire. But now somebody pointed, why are you looking at the fire? You see this, she's going. She's traveling in another airplane. See there. There is no point in looking at the fire. Enough is enough. Of those flying in airplanes, the person shining must be her. She is following King Prthu. They saw King Prthu in front and saw her following in another vehicle. She has surpassed us. Though we are devatas, we have become situated at her feet. In this activity, we have to take shelter of her lotus feet. Then by her mercy, we may do one day when we get that opportunity. But we will not be able to do. So like that they are saying. So here, taking this opportunity, Prabhupada says that, see what is mentioned here. Thus the word Urtvam indicates that Vaikuntha planets are situated beyond or above the material planets. And it was these Vaikuntha planets that Prthu and his wife were going to in the middle of the first paragraph. And at the end of the first paragraph, maybe 2-3 lines above, since they were carried by two separate airplanes, it must be concluded that even after being burned in the funeral pyre, they remained separate, individual persons. In other words, they never lost their identity or become void, as imagined by the impersonalists. So Prabhupada takes the opportunity to glorify the personalisms, even here also. So, like that. Tesham durapam kim tvanyam martyanam bhagavatpadam vivi lokaisho ye vai naishkarmyam sadhayantuta.
In this material
In,
world, every human being has a short span of life, but those who are engaged in devotional service go back home, back to Godhead, for they are actually on the path of liberation. For such persons, there is nothing which is not available.
She's telling that they are devatas, the devata ladies are telling that we being devata ladies, we cannot go to Vaikuntha just like that whenever we want. Because we have given a fixed tenure. We have to serve that time. In between, we cannot leave behind our services and leave go to Vaikuntha. But the human beings, they can go whenever they want. Like Prthu, he could have lived for many more years, but he said, no way, I'm leaving. So he took the help of Shashchakra Yoga and left the body and went to Vaikuntha in that way. What else is difficult to obtain for human beings of short lifespan on earth who attain the abode of the Lord, which is free of material action and reaction? Personalities like King Prthu and Arci who are going to Vaikuntha, what they can attain in the material world, they can attain even the post of Brahma also, but they don't want anything here. They are going to Vaikuntha in that way. We should also become such humans if we can get such a good fortune. What else, such as Brahmaloka or Sargaloka, is difficult to achieve for those personalities like King Prthu and Arci, who certainly achieved Vaikuntha, the Lord's abode, the very form of non-material action. Naishkarma means the Vaikuntha also filled with lot of activities, but none of them are material activities. They are all spiritual activities. So in that way. So for the human beings like Prthu, they can attain anything in this world because they are attaining Vaikuntha, entry into Vaikuntha very easily and very quickly. On the other side, in spite of getting human form, if somebody does not use it properly, they are the most lamentable. That is mentioned in the next verse. Savanchito batatmadruk krusre na mahata bhuvi labdvapavargyam manusham vishayeshu visajjate.
Any person who engages himself within this material world in performing activities that necessitate great struggle, and who, after obtaining a human form of life, which is a chance of to attain liberation from miseries, undertakes the difficult task of fruitive activities, must be considered to be cheated and envious of his own self.
Having with great difficulty attained a human form of life suitable for attaining liberation, a person who becomes attached to sense objects, Vishayeshu Visajjate, is certainly cheated, Vanchito, and killer of the self, Atmadruk. Sorry? Killer of the self, not here. Killer of the self. The human body, the suitable means to go back to Vaikuntha. If one does not do that, they are killing their soul. That means they continue to stay in this material world. Thus, The Devatas lament for those who are not devotees. So this verse is similar to one verse from 11th canto, which Prabhupada quotes in the purport. హృదయహమాద్యం సులభం సుదుర్లభం ప్లవం సుకల్పం గురు కర్ణధారం మయానుకులేన నభస్వతేరితం పుమాన్ భవాబ్దిం న సరేస ఆత్మ. The human body is filled with all the facilities in order to go beyond this material world. If one does not do that, they are simply killing their own souls. Atmaha. So like that. Same way. So these were the words spoken by the Devatas.
For going back to Godhead, Devtas and Gandharvas or
They also can go. They also can go, but they cannot go immediately. They have to complete their duties for 1 manvantara period. After that, they can go. But human beings within one lifespan they can go. Human beings don't to wait for a long time. Devatas have to wait for a long time till their seva completes. In between, they cannot leave behind and go.
after their seva completes, they again come back as a human.
No, they'll go back to Godhead. It's up to them. If they want to go back to God, they can go. If they want to come down, they'll come down also. Tuvatishu amarasrishu pati lokam gatavadhu yam va atmavidam duryo vainya prapachyutashraya.
The great sage Maitreya continued speaking. My dear Vidura, when the wives of the denizens of heaven were thus talking among themselves, Queen
Yeah, please.
Arci reached the planet which her husband Maharaj Prthu, the topmost self-realized soul, had attained.
Maitreya said, while the women were glorifying her, Arci reached the planet where her husband had gone. Pati lokam gata vadu. The vadu, the wife, had gone to the abode where Pati reached. There, Prthu, the best of the Norse of the Supreme Lord, attained the spirit shelter of the Supreme Lord. Prapya Achyuta Ashraya. So Prthu attained Achyuta Ashraya and Arci attained Prthu Ashraya in the same loka, same abode. That is what is indicated here. Will she go to material Patiloka, the pious act of dying with her husband? There could be a question. So verse says that Patilokam. So there is a material Patiloka also in this world. So which is meant for the pious ladies who follow her husband sincerely. Is she going to that loka? There could be a question like that. The answer is that no, not at all. Since King Prthu attained the abode worthy of the best knowers of Atma, Atma Vidam, Yamva Atma Vidam. So how can she go to material Patiloka? He did not attain material abode. He did not attain merging in Brahman, but rather he took shelter of the Lord, Achyuta Ashraya. For King Prthu did not pray for Svarga or Apavarga. From the very beginning, he only had the desire to serve the Lord, just like Mother Lakshmi was serving the Lord. So how can he attain a material Patiloka? And following him, his wife also? Not like that. Srila Sridhar writes in his commentary to this chapter, he says that King Prthu went to Vaikuntha. In the 23rd chapter, King Prthu, along with his wife, practices spiritual life daily in the forest and boarding an aeroplane goes to Vaikuntha. Those who are not devotees will more likely go to the material Patiloka. The husband and wife who are religious and husband dies following religious life and wife gives her body by entering into the funeral pyre of the husband, Sati, they will enter into material Patiloka where they will get all the heavenly opulences. But not for Prthu and Arci. Prthu had gone to Vaikuntha and Arci had gone to Vaikuntha along with her husband. So that is the understanding.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhuji, can you please explain what is material Patiloka? Because first time I'm hearing this term, like which are the various different lokas we have always heard about. in the material sky, but not about the material Pati Loka? That is first question. And the second, yeah, first we'll discuss this and then there's one more doubt.
No, just like there is Pitraloka, Devaloka. So there could be some place which is material Patiloka. So it is said in Mahabharata that even though if the husband is not religious, the wife is chaste, and at the death of husband, if the wife enters into the funeral pyre voluntarily, she will take her husband along with her to this Swarga, one section of Swarga which we can call it as Patiloka. This is also Swarga, within Swarga only, and they will stay there for many thousand years. By this one act of the wife, the both of them will be promoted to Swargaloka for many thousands of years. So it is like that. That can be called as Patiloka. So basically,
Okay.
so this act of chastity that will enable one to go to Swargaloka, and that portion of Swargaloka can be called as Patiloka, something like that.
Okay. And another one more doubt, for long standing doubt, this is Prabhuji, that means it is said that every soul, means not said, we always hear in the read in the scriptures that every soul has a different identity and soul has a specific relation of servitorship with the super soul. But what means other means souls have relation among themselves is only whatever different servitude servitors will have among themselves. So for husband and wife means इस जन्म में हम किसी के हस्बैंड है या वाइफ है, so whether this relationship will continue means for the next birth also, because every jiva will have their own karma, तो ऐसे साथ में बंध के कितने जन्म तक these jivas will travel like husband and wife करके.
Even in Vaikuntha also there are wife and husband.
Hare
Devaki
Krishna
Vasudev.
Prabhuji.
One second. Just I
Yes.
give some examples. Devaki Vasudev were there in the spiritual world.
Yeah,
Were they husband and wife in the spiritual world?
yeah.
So when they came here, they came as wife and husband, and when they went back, they also went back as a wife and husband. They continued their seva as wife and husband. So like that, even when jivas come here, sometimes, so sometimes the relationships happen by chance. We can take like that, but there are many cases. The wife and husband come together. They do their sevas here, come together, and when they go back together, back to Vaikuntha and resume their sevas there as wife and husband. That is possible. But that may not be for 100% jivas, but that is also possible. There is no harm in that.
Okay, so that is one of the possibility, and for others those means
Not
maybe
one of the possibility. That is possible, if not for 100%, but at least 50% is possible.
okay, so whatever jivas come together, suppose the husband wife both are devotees and performing devotion properly, that means they have the possibility that further lifespan, if at all they take birth or they go back wherever, they will continue to be husband and wife and serve the Lord in that relationship, maintaining their
Yes,
relationship. That's what. Okay,
yes. That is possible.
okay. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Pra-
Yes, Mataji,
Pra-
Vedanga Mataji.
Prabhuji, do we understand that the soul also has a gender then?
Yeah, in Vaikuntha also there are like
Variety.
forget about variety. There are male forms and female forms also, no? In Vaikuntha also the gender is there.
Okay.
Ah,
So one
Prabhuji is saying that
once
in the Vaikuntha also animals are there, birds are there, bees are there, plants are there. So in that way, it is there.
so if we are in a woman's body in this material world, then when we leave
Hmm.
this body as a soul, we remain
Hmm.
in a woman's body for forever, right?
If
Eternally.
that is one's constitutional position, one will continue like that.
Oh, okay.
So in the material body, because of some desire, okay, if suppose In the spiritual world, one may be in the spiritual female form, but when they come to material world, they may feel like that. How long should I continue in the female form? Let me also have the experience of being male. So they may, out of their desire, they may get male form. But eventually, when they go back, they will resume their original form only. So that can be possible. That is what is the topic of the next section, Puranjana story. Based on the desire, they can change the gender.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, then why it is said that means even Bhagavad Gita also mentions now that Striyo, Vaishya, Shudra, these are lower species. Means I always used to feel or still feel that okay, I must have done something brave. That is why even in the human form of life, I have got a female body. That is why so just keep quiet and
No, no.
do the
First of all, what do you understand from that word? Sriyo Vaishya Sudra means what? What do you mean by that?
means they are at a lower level and still they also can
Who are at lower level?
means
Mataji, I'm
those who are
asking you.
Shudra, those who are Vaishyas, I mean those who are Striyas, like woman form. So they
Yeah,
have
which
less
women?
intelligence. So
Which women? Which women?
non-devotee women.
No, not non-devotive
That's
women.
what my guess is. I may not be right.
Non-protected women. This verse talks about Sriyo Vaishya Sudra means non-protected woman. The woman who is not under the protection of either father, her husband, or son. That woman. That is what is the indication of that verse. Not every woman. Kindly remember that. When scripture say that is not a general statement, it is a contextual statement. Here, Prthu's wife is also a woman. So, but she is not the category of Sriya Vaishya Shudra. She is not of that category. Here, Arci is as good as Prthu. She is no way less than Prthu. So, there Lord Krishna says, even a woman who has no shelter, who has no protection, who has no guide, still if they take up bhakti, they will attain me. Then what to speak of somebody who knows, who has shelter, who has protection, then they will obviously attain me. So in that way, that is the understanding.
Okay.
Because if you remember the first chapter, what was the Arjuna's point? When a woman does not have protector, she will be exploited.
Okay.
So see the context.
Because in
Even though
Bhagavatam
a
also,
woman who has no shelter, who has no protection, in spite of being exploited, if she takes to devotional services, she will attain me. Apiche suduracharo. Bhajate mam ananyabhak. In spite of being the condemnable external conditions, but internally in the core of the heart, if they take shelter of my lotus feet firmly, they will come to me. That is the glory of bhakti. So it is like that.
but
Don't
Prabhuji,
generalize the statements of scriptures.
Prabhuji, not only in Bhagavad Gita, means in Bhagavatam also, I don't remember exactly the verse, but second canto or somewhere there also this comes that even the lowest categories of birds and Tiriyak Jana, that's verse, no, I don't remember the verse, but there also it was mentioned that even the
Devai vidanti
Striyas,
atitaranti devamaya Sri Shudra Huna Sabara Apipapa Jiva. So
so
all
there
these
also
people also, if
very
they take shelter of Supreme Lord, they can attain entry into Vaikuntha. There, the Sri is not the woman in general, the Sri who has no protector. So, in that way.
okay. Okay, thank you. This is a new dimension actually I learned today. Thank you so much, sir.
Same. Woman is always under the care of father, her husband, or children if husband takes on to sannyas. So as long as she is under protection, the protector takes the responsibility of woman and she will get whatever the protector gets without fail. If there is no protector, then she accepts Krishna as her protector and practices bhakti, even though they can attain me like that. Because in order to practice karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, there are more prerequisites. For bhakti, anyone and everyone can practice. That is to show the glory of bhakti, these verses. So it is like that. So even though there may be some statements sometimes saying that the women are less intelligent, like that, they are only contextual. You should not generalize them. So in that way. Should we continue? I'm sorry.
Yes, Babuji. No, but thank you very much. This was, I had never thought that the souls had gender. I always thought that they would be equal. There would be no distinction between male and female. Thank you very much.
Srila Madhvacharya, in his commentary to Bhagavatam, he says that generally the gender don't change. The gender changes only some specific conditions. Maybe once in a while it happens. Constitutionally, if some jiva is male, they will continue to be male, even in the material world. If the jiva is female, they will continue to be female in the material world, as long as they wander. But some cases, in exclusive special cases, they may change the gender. Otherwise, they don't change. That is Madhvacharya's explanation about gender change. So it's like that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ittam bhutanu bhavosau Prthu sa bhagavattama kirtim tasya charitam udama charitasya te.
Maitreya continued, the greatest of all devotees, Maharaja Prthu, was very powerful, and his character was liberal, magnificent, and magnanimous. Thus I have described him to you as far as possible.
Yeah. So now the rest of the chapter, it's all about the Phalasruti. So by reading all these chapters, it started in 13th chapter, I think. 13 to 23, about 11 long chapters. Big section. Whoever studies and reads and explains to others what will happen, what will they obtain. That is the Phalasruti is explained in the remaining part. King Prthu was the best of devotees and great authority as described. I have described to you the story of Prthu, a splendid character, Udama Charitasya. So since, my dear Vidura, since you have asked about King Prthu's life, the pastimes of King Prthu, I have explained to you as you asked. Ya idam sumahat punyam Shraddaya vahita pate Shraddava vahita patet Shravaye shrunuyadvapi Sapruto padavim iyat.
Any person who describes the great characteristics of King Prthu with faith and determination, whether he reads or hears of them himself or helps others to hear of them, is certain to attain the very planet which Maharaj Prthu attained. In other words, such a person also returns home to the Vaikuntha planets, back to Godhead.
So Prthu is called Bhagavattama, best of the devotees, best of the personalities who understood who Bhagavan is. So hearing about such kind of a person is so glorious. So what the hearer will get, that is mentioned here. The person who, with faith and attention, Shraddaya Avahitaya, reads, makes other hear. Patet shravayat. Studying and make others hear. Or hears, shrunvadapi. Or hearing. Reading personally or hearing from someone and making others to hear from someone. This great pure story of Prthu will attain the abode of Prthu attained. Abode that Prthu attained. Prthu went to Vaikuntha by practicing a life of devotion. And if somebody hears, reads, and helps other hear this pastime, will also go to the abode where Prthu went. We told many times, hearing means following, not just hearing from right here and leaving behind left ear. Hearing means whatever we hear, following it exactly toto. So in that way. If we don't follow, what is the use of hearing? Obviously. जाना ही पड़ेगा, फॉरेस्ट में जाके सब ऑस्टेरिटीज करना पड़ेगा. ब्राह्मणो ब्रह्म वर्चस्वी राजन्यो जगतीपति वैश्यापटन वित्पति वैश्यापटन वित्पति स्यात् शूद्रा सत्तमताम यात्.
If one hears of the characteristic of Prthu Maharaj and is a Brahmana, he becomes perfectly purified, he becomes perfectly qualified with Brahmanical powers. If he is a Kshatriya, he becomes the king of the world. If he is a Vaishya, he becomes the master of other Vaishyas and many animals. And if he is a Shudra, he becomes the topmost devotee.
So in the previous purport, Prabhupada mentioned that hearing about Lord Vishnu or his devotees is non-different. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to hear about Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. Like that, hearing a devotee is not at all inferior to the hearing of the Supreme Lord. So in that way, the Brahmana becomes most learned by hearing Puthu's pastimes. The kings become leaders of the whole world, Jagatpati, by hearing Puthu's pastime. The merchant becomes the masters of cows, and laborers becomes the best devotees. Shudra Sat Sat Tamatam Yat. Sat Tamatam Yat. Uta kya? Shudras become the devotees, best of the devotees. What else you want? Brahmanas are also devotees, also become a learned devotee. Shudras may not get all the knowledge, but they become simple-hearted devotees. Brahmanas will become knowledgeable devotees. Okay. Vitpati means master of cows or master of the other Vaishyas. The Vaishya, a simple Vaishya becomes big Vaishya. With devotion, not without devotion. So in that way. And one more important thing. Three krutva idam akarnya naro nari ata atavadrita apraja suprajatamo nidrano danavattama nirdano danavattama.
It does
It
not
does.
matter whether one is a man or a woman. Anyone who, with great respect, hears this narration of Maharaja Prthu will become the father of many children if he is without children, and become the richest of men if he is without money.
Previous verses talked about hearing one time Prthu Maharaj story. If one wants special desires, they need to hear 3 times. Hearing the story 3 times with attention, adrita, with eagerness and attention. A man or woman who does not have any children becomes blessed with many good children. Suprajattama, not just children. Supraja means devotee children. Those who do not have children, here is a recommendation. They can hear these 11 chapters. Chapter 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. These 11 chapters, they will beget good children. And the poor man becomes the richest. Nirdano Dhanavantama. What kind of dana? They will get the wealth of devotion. Of course, external wealth they may get also, but most importantly, they will get the wealth of devotion. So in that way. So like that, we should see this. There was one time it was mentioned that some devotees, not devotees in the sense, the favorable couple, they were married for 6 years or something. They were not having any children. So one of our brahmachari, he was like cultivating them. So they were practicing bhakti, new devotees. So but their parents are not seemingly happy, because obviously the parents, when their children get married, they always anticipate the grandchildren should come in the family. So years are passing, but nothing is happening. So this was Gaur Krishna Prabhu, who left his body in that flight accident many years back. He was taking care of them. So he suggested them to perform seriously Putrada Ekadashi. There is one Ekadashi known as Putrada Ekadashi. I think very soon is going to come. Maybe in next month or something like that. It is there. So they performed Putrada Ekadashi, doing full fast, taking only little water, not eating anything, and they worshipped the Lord, and they did whatever Ekadashi is supposed to be done. They did everything properly. The whole day they spent in chanting and hearing, etc. etc. And it is said that eventually in due course of time they became parents. So when the memorial ceremony was arranged, that time our Prem Kushar Prabhu narrated this pastime, that Prabhuji had so much faith that Putrada Ekadashi, the name itself indicates Putru Denewala Ekadashi. So he kind of helped some couple to attain children. So this verse also can be taken as this thing. Of course, they don't get normal children; they will get devotee children, because the Prthu's pastime itself filled with so many very heavy devotional principles. Every chapter is filled with so much devotion. So in that way. Aspashta kirti suyasha murko bhavati pandita idam swastyayanam pumsham amangalya nivaranam.
Also, one who hears this narration 3 times will become very reputable if he is not recognized in society, and he will become a great scholar if he is illiterate. In other words, hearing of the narrations of Prithu Maharaj is so auspicious that it drives away all bad luck.
Yeah. The continuation of this previous verse. Those who hear or read 3 times with a person with no reputation becomes famous. Aspashta kirti becomes suyashasa. A person who is not respected by others will become most respectable. And a fool becomes learned. Obviously, hearing and understanding this Prthu Maharaj pastime means a person will become obviously the most learned person. Everything is there here. This story brings auspiciousness and destroys inauspiciousness. Amangalaya nirvanam and swasti ayanam pumsham. So this is another interesting benefit.
What is the significance of 3 times?
Huh?
Why 3 times, not 4 or 5 or 1 time?
Prabhuji is asking why 3 times? Why not 4, 5, 6? Anyone has any thoughts? I do remember, but I just want to see. Anyone has any thoughts? Why only 3 times? Why not more? Why not less? Devotees are there or?
Yes, Prabhuji. Because in Shastras it is advocated anything which is important is stressed by repeating it 3 times. So maybe minimum 3 times.
Yeah, that is also true. In Sanskrit, when you say one, it is one. When you say two, it is two. When you say three, it is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 100,000, 1 lakh, 1 crore, like that. Anything above 2 can be called as 3. Ekavachan, Dvivachan, and Bahuvachan. There is no Trivachan, Chaturthi Vachan, not like that. So in that way. So Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam. Kalau nasteva 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 gatiranyatha. When something is mentioned 3 times, that means it's as good as mentioning 100,000 times. So in that way.
Keep on hearing it repeated.
But if not, if you don't do 100 times, if you do 3 times, it is as good as you have done 100 times. So like that. 3 times has that special significance. So next. Dhanyam Yashasyam Ayushyam Swargam Kalimalapaham Dharmartha Kama Mokshanam Samyak Siddhim Abhipsubhi Shraddhayaitad Anushravyam Chaturnam Karanam Param.
By hearing the narration of Prthu Maharaj, one can become great, increase his duration of life, gain promotion to the heavenly planets, and counteract the contaminations of this age of Kali. In addition, one can promote the causes of religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Therefore, from all sides, it is advisable for the materialistic person who is interested in such things to read and hear the narrations of the life and character of Prthu Maharaj.
Yeah. Those, of course, Prabhupada writes in the purport first 2 lines. By reading and hearing the narrations of the life and character of Prthu Maharaj, one naturally becomes a devotee. And as soon as one becomes a devotee, one's material desires automatically becomes fulfilled. See, initially one may have some material desires. By hearing Prthu Maharaj's pastimes, the desires are fulfilled and they also become devotee. Once they become devotees, they will not have no material desires. So Purana nikal gaya, naya nahi aayega. So like that. Those desiring perfection of wealth, fame, long life, swarga, destruction of Kali Yuga's influence, dharma, artha, kama, or moksha, should hear with faith this story. Shraddhaya etad anushravyam. One should hear the story of Prthu Maharaj with faith, which is the cause of the 4 benedictions. The story of Prthu Maharaj can fulfill all one's benedictions. In addition to that, it can avoid Prema Bhakti. Then there will be no more newer desires in the heart of a devotee. It's like that. So condition is that we have to do 3 times. So we are discussing 1 time in the class. All of you will read at least 1 more time in your home, and 1 more time should be done. So in order to do 1 more time, you should speak this katha to somebody else. In order to speak to somebody else, you will read also, you will speak also. In that way, 3 times will be completed. So in that way. Vijayabimuko raja Shrutvaitad Abhiyatiyan Balintaspai Arantagre Rajana Prutaveyata.
If a king who is desirous of attaining victory and ruling power chants the narration of Prthu Maharaj 3 times before going forth on his chariot, all subordinate kings will automatically render all kinds of taxes unto him, as they rendered them unto Maharaja Prthu, simply upon his order.
Yeah. Akama sarvakamo va mokshakamo udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajata purusham para. Whether with desires or without desires, one should do Tirva Bhakti. Tirva Bhakti means hearing, studying, and making others hear Prthu Maharaj pastimes 3 times. So in that way. Hearing the story 3 times, a king wanting victory sets forth and attacks the enemy. Other kings will offer him tribute even without fighting, just as they did to Prthu previously. So the understanding is, if one want to conquer other adharmic kings, establish the superiority of Dharma, They need to hear Prthu Maharaj story for 3 times. Then they go on for fight. The other person even does not even fight. They come forward and submit their submission and offer gifts, accepting accepting sovereignty. So that will be the result for a king. Muktanya sango bhagavati amalam bhaktim udvahan vinyasya charitam punyam shrunuyak shravayet patet.
A pure devotee who is executing the different processes of devotional service may be situated in the transcendental position, being completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. But even he, while discharging devotional service, must hear, read, and induce others to hear about the character and life of Prthu Maharaj.
Yeah, this is what was said in the beginning. Again, Maitreya Muni repeating at the end. Initially, also it had the Shrunuya Shravayet Patet. Again, he repeating. He said that one should hear, make others hear, and recite. Shruniyat, one should hear for oneself. Shravayat, make others hear, and Patet, and recite. This pure story of Prthu, Vainyasa Charitam Punyam, while giving up all other leaders, Mukta Anya Sangha, without any ulterior motives, without any material desires, one should do Shravanam, Kirtanam, and helping others to do Shravanam in order to cultivate the pure bhakti to the Lord. Bhagavati Amalam Bhakti Udvahan. So, if at all one want to become pure devotees, one want to increase in one's bhakti, one should hear, one should make others hear, and one should read Prthu Maharaj pastime 3 times. Amalam Bhakti means Shuddha Bhakti. One should hear the story with faith, giving up all other results in order to possess Shuddha Bhakti. In order to get Prema Bhakti, one should give up all other desires and continue to hear Krishna Katha or Prthu Maharaj Katha. वैचित्रवीर्याभिहितं मना माहात्म्य सूचकम् अस्मिन् कृतम् अतिमर्त्यम् पार्थवीं गतिमाप्नुयात्.
The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, I have as far as possible spoken the narration about Prithu Maharaj, which enrich one's devotional attitude. Whoever takes the advantage of these benefits also goes back home, back to Godhead, like Prithu Maharaj.
Yeah. Oh Vidura, I have explained this superhuman story indicating the greatness of the devotee. One should attain the destination of Prthu described in this story. Those who hears, those who speak, both will attain the same destiny of Prthu Maharaj. And Prabhupada says that one should not always hear or read for oneself. One should also help others hear or read and speak for others. That is called preaching. So that will benefit both. So like that, one should not only read of his pastimes for one's own benefit, but should induce others to read and hear about them also. In this way, everyone can be benefited, and that is called preaching. O son of Vichitra Virya, I have explained the story of King Pruthu, which indicates the greatness of the great devotees. One will attain the goal related to King Pruthu. Parthavim. The last verse of this chapter. Finally, Maitreya Muni says that Anudinam idam idamadharena shrinvan Pruthu charitam shrinvan vimukta sangha Bhagavati bhavasindhu potapade sacha nipunam labate ratim manushya.
Whoever with great reverence and adoration regularly reads, chants, and describes the history of Maharaja Pruthu's activities will certainly increase unflinching faith and attraction for the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord's lotus feet are the boat by which one can cross the ocean of nations.
Finally, important thing is that Anudinam idam adarena shrunvan. With great respect, whoever hears or recite the story of King Prthu daily, avoiding material association. That means avoiding any material desires, will attain rati unto the Lord. Bhagavati ratim labate. One will get rati means bhava. Bhava and prema unto the Supreme Lord. Whose feet are boat for crossing the ocean of material existence. Bhava Sindhu Pota Pade. Lord's lotus feet are like the suitable boat which can take one across the ocean of material existence. So what do you mean by taking the shelter of Lord's lotus feet? That is, one, every day with great respect, avoiding material desires, should hear or recite the story of King Prthu. That is the suitable boat for one to go back home back to Godhead. Just like Prthu went back to Godhead, by hearing Prthu, reading about Prthu to others, within the bracket, by following, just like Prthu followed, one will go back home back to Godhead. So this is about Prthu Maharaj and his wonderful activities and his wonderful destiny. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Any questions?
No, Prabhuji. No,
No,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji,
Thank you so much.
Thank you
You
very much.
explained really nicely.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So we are done. We are done with the section of Prthu Maharaj. And in advance only, I am guarding all of you. The next section will be one of the toughest section in the Bhagavatam. Apparently seems to be allegorical story. Puranjana story. With one chapter only. That entire pastime is connected together. All the way up to 29 chapter. Very technical, but if we follow thoroughly, all our philosophical doubts will be clarified. Whatever philosophical doubts we might have. So all those things will be clarified from that section. They go into more and finer details of what is what. So we'll start tomorrow and we'll continue on. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for joining today.